Hi guys, thanks for joining me again. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Anne and on my channel I review foreign international content. Today I'm back to review this excellent series called Panchiko. I have to say season 1 I missed out when it was currently airing, but this time for season 2 I'm here and we're gonna be reviewing every episode. We're on episode 9, season 2, and it's on Apple TV, and we get an episode every Friday. So if you have Apple TV, please join us to watch this. If you've never watched Panchiko, please go watch season 1 so you can come join us for season 2. It is just absolutely fantastic. And just to give you an overview of season 1, and if you've not watched season 1, spoiler alert a little bit, but there's no way reviewing it without actually saying what it's all about. But Panchiko is really the story of Sanju, and I love that actress who's playing both of them, the young and the older actress. Love both of them. They're doing such an excellent job. And really, we go to, I believe it's in the 1940s, we're in South Korea. I love that in this show they use real historical facts while they're giving us this storyline, this romantic storyline, and also the struggles that were going on then between South Korea, you got Japan, and you also got United States in the middle of all this. And we meet Sunja really in South Korea with her mom and dad. They're just trying to make it, and unfortunately they end up losing the dad, and it's just her and the mom, and they're just trying to work hard to put food on the table. And then obviously the character of, and I'm sorry, if you are a Korean drama fan, you definitely know who this is. This is Lee Min-ho, Korean actor royalty. If you're a Korean drama fan, then you would know who he is. There's no introduction needed. Very excellent actor. Done a lot of Korean dramas, so check him out if you've never seen him. And obviously we meet the character of Hansu, and as soon as he sees Sunja, he is just drawn to her. It's almost like love at first sight, and obviously pursues her, and they become good friends, and it turns romantic, and she ends up getting pregnant. And let's just say she thought, well, dude, you got me pregnant. The right thing to do would be to marry me, right? And then in the middle of that, we find out, oh, I can't marry you. That's what he says to her, because I am married and have a whole family in Japan. And she's like, what? And the fact that she, the way she grew up, she was very street smart. You could tell she was actually like sad and disappointed in the fact that she let herself down, that she allowed that to happen to her and didn't even see or realize that, oh, he could be married. And because he would come back, travel back and forth from Japan to Korea, and just, she was naive and trusted, and all of a sudden realizing, oh my God, what have I done? Me and my mom are just trying hard to just put food on the table, and then now I'm adding on a baby into it, and this guy will not marry me, dilemma. Then in the middle of all that, there's this guy who's coming to South Korea. He's supposed to be a minister, I think, to spread the gospel. He finally comes to Sunja's mom's. She runs more like a room and board kind of thing. And when he finally gets there, he collapses because he was very sick. He had been traveling for, I think, months on the ship. And they don't know who he is or anything like that. But then Sunja's mom is like, well, we're going to have to nurse him to health. And in the middle of all that is when Sunja decides to tell the mom, look, I have something to tell you, and it's not easy. And that's when she confesses to the mom, like, I got pregnant. Ooh, that was a sad scene to see, because the mom is like, what? And then she's disappointed. But in the middle of all that, the guy who was over there being nursed wakes up and hears this story, and obviously he feels sad for Sunja. He gets to know her, takes a liking to her as well, and he's like, look, I overheard about your issue. Look, I'm willing to marry you, but if I do marry you, I'm gonna say that's my son, obviously, and then, but the problem is you'd have to move to Japan with me, and that would mean you'd have to leave your mother alone in South Korea, which, if you've had to move from one country from your own country to another country, which I did. I grew up in Africa, came here. You know the pain of leaving your family back. And for her, even worse, it was just her mother. No, her dad had died, no other family. So, oh, that was so sad. That scene when they have to say goodbye, that was tough. Anyway, they come to Japan and he's a good husband. They even have a second son. But her husband is also one of those people who is, he's seeing the conditions of the Koreans and how they're being treated by the Japanese, which that was kind of sad to see. It's one thing, racism, not that any racism is ever good, don't get me wrong. Both Asians, like you would think maybe there would be some sort of a little bit of an understanding, but no. You're Korean and Japanese, and they definitely treat each other differently, and the Japanese are not easy on the South Koreans. And her husband is just trying to see ways of trying to make it better for the South Koreans who are in Japan, and obviously he's married one. And let's just say the police get wind of this, the Japanese police get wind of this, and he's taken away. He's taken away and disappears. Nobody knows where he is. Now she's left with 2 kids and she has to put food on the table, and she is having a hard time trying to put food on the table. And she comes up with this good idea of making kimchi because there's South Koreans there, and introduces kimchi, and thank God that's putting food on the table. She's also staying there with the sister-in-law of her husband and the brother-in-law. That's how they're able to make it. What we do find out is Hansu always kept an eye on her, and we even saw she was pregnant with his son. He always kept an eye on her, and obviously finds out that she's now in Japan. So he always had somebody watching out for her, which in a way that becomes very helpful as we see in season 2. So very interesting to see. I just thought in season 2, she is running out of kimchi. There isn't enough cabbage to make any kimchi. They think, let's make some rice wine, and obviously they're gonna sell it in the black market. And then they knew it was a risk, but it's like, what do? You gotta put food on the table. And unfortunately she gets arrested. And in this scene, obviously, he's always watched out for her, so he helps her get out of jail. And I thought it was interesting when they finally meet and she's like, how did you find me? And the way he's like, I didn't have to look for you because I never lost you. I was like, ooh. And let's just say it was interesting because he's like, look, the Americans are threatening to bomb Japan. And she's like, oh, they've always threatened that. But he's like, no, this time around they're gonna do it. I think you and the kids should move and go to the, to the country until this all is done, and then you guys can come back. And the way she was like, nope, I can't leave. I cannot leave. I'm not leaving my husband here. I will wait for him. And his realization of like, oh, you definitely care for him a lot. And I was like, and you expected her to not care for any other man but you who left her? His face realizing like, wow, you do care for him is very interesting. So I cannot wait to see what became of their relationship. And then obviously in the middle of all this, we also are being shown present day, which would be in the 80s. And we see Sunja now in present day Japan in the 80s, obviously. And she lives with her son, which is the second son, right? And the grandson, Solomon. What I'm asking is, what happened to the first son, Noah? Did I miss it in what happened to him? Because I don't think I missed it in season 1. Or have they not told us what happened to Noah? Because I'm like, we're only seeing the second son and not the first son, which would be Hansu's son. Cannot wait to find out what happened there. And then obviously we see Solomon, who is her grandson, who they were able to educate him. He even went to Yale for education here in the United States, and he is very smart. And we see him trying to navigate, obviously there's this racism again between the Koreans and the Japanese. That one scene here in episode 9 where that baker was like, wow, I didn't understand her half Japanese, half Korean, and I did not know that she was asking for that much cake. That's what she needed. And the way she was like, what do you mean by that? Like, it's just the undertone of racism. And the way he blew it up, like, look, I'm Japanese, I grew up here, and racism is so awful, and the ignorance is so terrible. Like, but I was so glad, I'm like, he told them off. And the way the grandma's like, oh my gosh, stop causing a scene. Because in her generation, that's how they dealt with it. Like, we act like we're not seeing that they're being racist towards us. He's like, oh hell no, I'm gonna deal with it. I'm educated, I know better. When you see this, you speak up. Because that way everybody can see that what he's doing is wrong. Don't do it, stop it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just stop it. It's awful, it's terrible. It's interesting to see how the grandson is gonna navigate between trying to set up a business in Japan, and we know in season 1 we saw what happened with that one lady who was from South Korea, found out the real story, and it's that same thing. You want me to sell my company to these racist people and what they put us through. Are you gonna be okay with that? I know it's a lot of money and it's a big deal for you. And when he followed his heart and he was like, don't do it. Don't do it. After all they put us through, don't do it. But now, unfortunately, he's become blacklisted because they're like, well, you couldn't do that business with that American company. Now the Japanese are all like, no, don't deal with him. But I'm loving that Solomon is following his heart. I feel like he's got obstacles to deal with because the cultures, the racism, and all that stuff. But I feel like he will succeed. He just has to keep pushing it and keep pushing it. But oh, fantastic series. To me, this is Oscar worthy. The script, the acting, the actors, the locations, everything. It is such a fantastic series. Have you watched? Let me know in the comment section what you've thought. Please join me next week. I plan to review it once a week as we go to episode 10. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens to Sunja and Hansu. Oh, just excellent series. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. If you do like my video, give me a like, subscribe. It does help support my channel. And I'll see you next week. Deuces.